Ibashe Oludumare, Ibashe Ogumila, Ibashe Awo Akoda, Ibashe Asheda, Ibashe Ejubona Mefa, Ibashe Abongbong Oba Ile Ife, Ibashe Adabalutu Ife, Ibashe Olokun, Ibashe Olasa, Ibashe Aje Ogun Uloso Olamba Ile Aye, Ibashe Ita Merindinogun, Ibashe Orunoko, Ibashe Okunoko, Ibashe Okiti Awoko, Ibashe Ogun Imale Ledu, Ibashe Babas, Ibashe Yeyes, Ibashe Ori, Ibashe Tototo, Oludumare Ebojuba. Kiba me eshi orunjuba. Ashe, 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 Ashe.
But the true essence of magical or occult phenomenon is the creation of an ego, the creation of an identity, but an identity that will hold and maintain through lifetimes. The all in all is a spiritual and unseen subcontext that lies beneath all of reality. That is the all. And that within itself is mental. The greatest thing you can do in this moment is to be aware that these events are happening and to start digging into your creative mind as to where you can begin to assist. So these are not theories and thoughts and ideas that have been developed within me overnight, nor are they theories, thoughts, and ideas that have been developed inside of a vacuum, but they've been tried and though the real current is the desert of the mind. Because your mind can only perceive what is real, but you have yet to actually. So if the universe is mental, then can the universe learn something? Certainly.
You are now in the realm of enlightenment and transformation.
Welcome to Chief Speaks.
All music performed and produced by Yu Ya.
Enlightenment and transformation. Enlightenment comes from allowing yourself to journey through the dark shadows of death, the primordial abyss of wisdom's waters. For it is the treasures and mysteries that lie wait in the dark that transform us and propel us to a new enlightened state. One should neither aspire to live in the light nor the dark, but should journey between the two in order to evolve the overall reality into a self-actualized creation. Knowledge is your light as wisdom is your darkness. The bold interplay of the two in your life leads you to an enlightened understanding of yourself and the universe you've created. Male is your enlightenment. Female is your transformation. Child is your evolution. Woman, accept the light into your darkness so it may enlighten you. Man, bring your light boldly into the darkness so that it may transform you. Enlightenment and transformation.
I love you so much because you just don't know what you've just done for me. Thank you so much.
Wow. This is like the best call I've had in ages on BTR.
So this show was meant for me to be able to hear today, and I'm so thankful.
That's his home.
Therefore, now a new pathway has now been cut in order to get to the Almighty, where there may not have been one. So the communication with them, if they have enough power and strength to talk to us, the communication will be very clear.
That's one of the reasons I don't get into the current events thing too much, because it starts to become a perpetual alarm clock that we just keep hitting snooze on. I speak to the ascended masters, quote unquote. I talk about spiritual stuff, but I also speak about some very practical, we can do today things.
Be as natural as you can be with your spiritual. You can't always go by your feelings because your feelings are corrupted. Your feelings are just as corrupted as everything else, your chakras and everything else. You got to know what's beyond you, and that's why we have elders. We can't do everything. You can't get everything out of books or weekend certification. You can have the most powerful, ancient, oldest, most, as far as you know, truthful tradition in your hands, and if you still have a dirty spirit, you're not going to get anything out of it. You're not going to learn anything. You're not actually going to grow. I try to teach in a way where I make myself obsolete. That's always been my goal, to make myself obsolete.
I really wanted to, kind of big you up. I think you're awesome.
There's a lot of elders out here right now that want to know what's going on. They're not getting on Twitter and stuff like that, but they want to be up on the new stuff. You know, sit down and have some conversations with them. You know, it's not always about hearing their story. It's also about being news reporters for them and letting them know, like, yeah, this is what's happening right now. They may tell you something about what happened in Charleston that you couldn't even. Your spirituality has to create sane spiritual families. Okay, and that family exists first inside of you. You have to express the different expressions of that rainbow coalition of spirits inside of you first. Okay, don't let communities hijack that rainbow. See, the problem is when we come into the conscious community, the dudes are doing the same thing that the women are doing.
I just want to say that I really enjoy your show every Sunday, and my friend and I call it going to church. You know, when we call him, we'll be like, you going to church? You know, and I'm like, where have y'all been at?
God cannot go against its own truth. So anytime you have an inkling that God is going against its own truth, then God is no longer behaving as God, so therefore the spiritual community doesn't recognize God. You dig where I'm coming from? Or can we have a new thought? Can we step outside of the books for a second and have a new conversation about hair weaves and wigs? You know, can we have a new conversation about homosexuality? Can we have a new conversation about vegan eating? What are we doing? It's a good day for an exorcism. Good day for an exorcism.
Greetings. Welcome, everyone, to another segment of Chief Speaks on Enlightenment and Transformation. My name is Chief Yuya. Well, my name is Yuya, but they call me Chief Yuya. And I just want to welcome all of you who are tuning in, of course, for the first time, and those of you who are traditional and long-standing listeners. Of course, I see you, many of you in the chat room already, you know, getting ready, piling in, and doing what you do. And I'm thankful for you all, you know, and definitely for, as I always say, and I'm going to say it again, I'm thankful for those of you who tune in from the archive so much later, because of the fact that you just made it, you got here. And the live experience and the live moment is not the end all be all, but you know, however you stumbled here, whether you crawled or you walked or ran, you know, or were kicked and pushed and into this experience, man, you know, you're welcome all the same. All right. So for those of you who may tune in months from now or a year from now, or however this may go, you know, you may find an old antiquated phone in the sand, you know, many years from now after some sort of nuclear blast. And you may turn it on and the battery may still be working, and you may play this and you may hear me speaking right now, you know. So however you come in, man, you know, welcome, and thank you for being here with us all right? Because there's no concept of time, you know, in the higher realms. So, you know, you're here with us right now all the same. All right, so couple things I wanted to get into. First off, just remind everyone, the end of this strong, I will be in Toronto, Canada at a different book list cultural center. I was about to say bookstore, but it's a cultural center. And that's on 777 Bathurst. And, you know, we'll be starting about 6. But from Friday to like Monday, I'll be just doing readings and work with people. So anyone who's in that area and wants, you know, needs any kind of spiritual work or reading, whatever, just go to askosiris.com and you can schedule your session with me from there while I'm up there. That's how you do it. Ask Osiris. Okay, people have been emailing me on social media saying, I don't schedule anything like that. All right. I never do, so don't take it personal. But everything that I do goes through the program on Ask Osiris, because one of the advantages is that it compensates for your time zone. So sometimes people will even somehow, I don't know how, but get a hold of my number, and they'll call and say, I want to get a reading. Can someone call me back? Nobody's going to call you back. All right. Or they'll find me on Instagram or something, or Twitter, and email me and say, I want to set up a reading. I don't do it that way because it creates too much confusion because you might be in a different time zone, and then we're saying the same time, and then we forget that we're in different time zones, and it's just too much. So definitely use the applet on askosiris.com if you want to schedule time. All right. And the first strong end, and or the first Saturday rather in December, I'll be in New Orleans. All right, so that's gonna be I'll post some information on that coming soon, like where to get the sign up, the registration for it and stuff. But just a heads up now, that'll be in November, the first strong end of November, which is a Saturday. It's a sister down there. She does a series called the Sacred. I believe it's a Sacred Talk series, something like that. Sacred something. She's a real good sister. She's a real good sister of mine. Beautiful spirit, and she's been asking me to come on back down for a while. So, I'm coming on down. All right. So, I'll be there. The first December. The first Saturday in December. So make sure you come through for that. All right. I'm sure you will enjoy it. All right. So I'm going to get into it. And before I move forward, could someone just give me a cue and let me know that I can be heard? All right. So in the chat room, just someone say, yeah, we hear you. All right. We got you. All right. Before I move forward, I think I should be able to be heard, but I just want to make sure before I keep going. All right. And the only reason is because I saw somebody in the chat say, is it just me or did the program not start yet? All right. So that could be something on their end. Usually it is on there. Okay. Raw Honey says, I hear you. Okay. Perfect. Good. Thank you so much. Usually it is something on the other person's end, but I'm willing to be accountable if it doesn't work. But thank you everyone for letting me know. I appreciate that. All right. Yeah. And some of y'all I'm ignoring. I think you know who. Right. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to make you all aware of that. Toronto, the end of the strong, New Orleans in December. I got some other stuff going on in between, but I don't know if I want to announce it yet, or if I want to keep it small and intimate. So let me just fill that one out. But yeah, it's a couple of things going on. So those of you who want to experience those things, you come on and experience those things. All right. So, I entitled today's segment In Season and Out of Season. And there's a reason. I've been thinking about this, just the thought. I wasn't really going to speak on it this Sunday. It's just kind of a personal thought that's kind of been floating around in my own psyche. But I would say probably for a couple of days. And, sometimes I ruminate on things. I try to, sometimes when a thought comes, I like to play with it, bouncing around and entertain it and push it all different kinds of ways inside of my psyche just to see, what it evolves and turns into in that time. And I realized, the thought and the idea was so prominent that it was something that I was being called or urged to bring up and share and to release from my own psyche. And of course, this month we've been dealing with the concept of identity and specifically the power of identity and the things that we identify with, and sometimes how we can take on the identities of others unknowingly. Sometimes how those energies can be transferred to us and how that creates not only frustration and anger inside of us, but inside of the other person as well, especially if we're denying the identity that they're trying to transfer to us, and I gave many examples of that, but, there's so many things sometimes people want to transfer to you. And when you choose not to take it on, they get upset, they get upset. So it's important for us to be aware of our own personal boundaries and importantly, our aura. To be aware of how the aura works and to be aware of how we use our auric field that surrounds us. And of course, in our new spiritual training, we speak about the aura and what it is and things like that. But, just briefly, I'm not going to get all into it. You can get the training, but it's that energy field, that electromagnetic field that exists around your body. That's all, and I know we put a grand deal of mysticism to it, and you do what you feel like, if it connects you to it more, all right, cool. I'm not against that, but ultimately, that field, it not only protects us, but it also sends out our intentions, our emotions, and our dispositions, to the physical environment around us. You see, so depending on the strength or the weakness of our auric field, will help to determine how easy it is for us to transfer our feelings to other people, or how easy it is for people to transfer their feelings to us, because of the strength of that field that exists around us. So, we've been kind of just dealing with that, the idea of identity, and again, sometimes how people will skew our identities, and they may not necessarily have malicious thought, behind it. Like, yeah, I'm going to mess this person. I'm going to make them think this and think that. They may not necessarily be implanting those suggestions because they want to harm us, but sometimes dealing with their own stuff is just so burdensome that they need someone else to carry the load. And they don't realize that maybe that's not the most healthy thought to have, but in the moment they're hurting. I remember speaking to someone years ago who was sick all the time. Well, she was sick enough. I don't want to say all the time, because literally she was not sick all the time, but oftentimes she got sick at least once a month or so. And she said to me, it's not fair. You never get sick. I've never seen you with a cold or anything. I've known you for years and you never get sick. And she was like, this isn't fair. You should take some of this at least sometimes. And she was dead serious. Dead serious. She felt like I should be sick sometimes. So in that moment, she wanted to transfer her diseased, compromised immune system onto me, because, in that moment, it just was too much for her to bear, and of course, no, I'm not accepting that. You're the sick one. That's your thing. That's what you do. I don't get sick like that. I don't abuse my body so that it forces me to shut down. And, I don't know. I have more respect for my frame than that, so, a lot of times people will feel that need to transfer those identities or those ideas to a certain person because they just can't bear it themselves. But so we've been building on that. And, there's a biblical scripture. Yeah, I know. That has been kind of ringing in my head for a couple of days, and it's because of some things that have come up, just in consultations and just in my own psyche, and just ruminating on some of the things of my own past and reflecting on the people around me. And I have to warn a lot of you, before this segment, that it may feel that it may be a little bit of a bumpy ride for some of you, depending on, where you're standing, so I'll warn you now. So if you want to, if it starts to feel like that, you want to click off, I understand, I understand. Yeah. So yeah, the idea, there's a verse in Timothy 4:2, I think it's 2 Timothy 4:2 actually, that kind of kept popping into my head, like the past couple of days. And, I don't read the Bible as much as I used to, unless I'm using it for like if I'm working on a lecture or something like that, and I'll use it. It's mainly a reference book, but I don't read it like, okay, what does the good Lord got to tell me today? Not like that. But if I'm teaching about something and I may be speaking to a certain group and that's their disposition, where they're coming from, then I'll a lot of times I'll pull from that source in order to make it more relevant to them and things like that, depending on. So when certain verses pop up in my head, considering that they're not a part of my daily vernacular or even my daily school of study, I pay attention to it, right? So that particular verse where it says, preach the word, be instant, in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine, right? That's been like popping in my head a lot, preach the word, be instant, in season and out of season, right? And, I kind of just pushed it to the side, like, okay, well, maybe, because I study a lot of things and those different things come up sometimes. And, sometimes they're applicable to the moment, and I apply them, or sometimes it's just, old stuff bouncing around and, in the dome. But this kept coming back, and I said, okay, well, let's really look at this. And I really started to think about the idea and what does it really mean in a larger sense. And then I thought about some of the people that I've encountered on my journey, my journey that began with evolution, being an evolved person, and opening myself up to the idea and being, enticed by the idea of being free, and what that could actually mean, and really being able to control my own situation. And to reiterate, as I've spoken about this before, but just to reiterate, freedom is not the destination. It's not like it's a land you go to and we free now. It doesn't work like that. You don't go back to your homeland or buy a plot of land and establish a flag, or dress however you want or wear your hair however you want. That's not what freedom is, because freedom, again, remember, it's the dom is dominion, just like a kingdom or a queendom. It's just the king's dominion, and king comes from the word kin, which is family. So a kingdom is a family's dominion, where the family rules, but the family is going to rule with freedom, because the freedom is nothing but dome. It's the head, is free thought. So being able to control your thoughts and have thoughts and ideas that are akin to where you want to be, akin, again, right? Family, are related to where you want to be and not related to where someone is trying to place you externally, right? So that's what freedom is. And then when a brother says, I have a kingdom, or a sister says, I have a queendom, what they're essentially saying is that I've mastered myself. Because that's the only place your kingdom exists. You see, I know we have this image, and of course, because of what's been perpetuated to us, that a kingdom will be, it consists of physical boundaries. Yes, that's a latent kingdom. That comes after where the real kingdom is. The real kingdom exists between your two ears, because that's the only thing that you can control. You can't control, like you can influence others. You can influence the decisions of others and things like that. You can persuade people, and sometimes you can persuade them violently. If I put a gun in your face and say, give me your pocketbook, I'm persuading you to give you your pocketbook, but it may be violently. So there's different ways we can do that, but to actually monitor, to actually determine the frequency and the rate of the thoughts that goes inside of someone's mind and how they process it and synthesize it, there's so many different constituents that are involved there, because you have ancestors, you have their spirits, you have their guardians, you have this, that, you have what they ate that day. You have maybe the fact that they didn't eat that day. And all of these things go into how a person is processing what lies in between their two ears, if they're going to have free thought or if their thoughts are controlled by external factors, right? So when we speak about a kingdom, a queendom, a freedom, it's primarily in the mind. Okay, so your kingdom is in your mind. If you can't control your mind, if you can't control your thoughts, then you can't control your words. If you can't control your words, you can't control your manifestations. You see? So what you create outside of you becomes something that's not yours. However, if you're controlling thought, if you're controlling the words that fly out of your mouth, then what happens is you're now deliberately creating. So then everything that exists outside of you becomes your kingdom, only because you've deliberately created it with ofo ashe, or what we call word power. You see? So that word power now creates what we're speaking about here. So when we say, I'm trying to build this and I'm trying to build that, a lot of times we're exercising the wrong muscles. We're exercising something externally, when in fact we should be exercising the internal building up of the mind. You see, how we're really sharpening and creating that, because that's what manifests out in the world. If you have a head that's full of confused thoughts, then you manifest confusion. You see, there were 3 incidents this strong in consultations, and I know people are gonna say, "Are you talking about me?" Yeah, I'm talking about y'all. But don't worry, you're not alone. There were 3 incidents where I was doing a consultation and people were using words and phrases that I knew they didn't understand, because I could tell by the way they were using it, they didn't know what they were talking about. And when I brought it to their attention just by saying, "What does that word mean? You keep saying this. You keep saying it. What are you saying?" They got frustrated. "Oh, Chief, you're beating up on me." I'm not beating up on you. I'm just trying to get you to clarify what it is that you're saying. Because I know internally you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Excuse my Swahili. You see, but we were able to get through it because, I'm not going to bend just because you get frustrated doesn't mean I'm going to shut up, unless I don't care anything about you. If I don't care anything about you, I'll shut up. All right, cool. Yeah, no problem. All right. Anyway, let's go on to the next thing. Or you'll get my infamous, some of you've gotten the the all right, cool. And then my voice gets a little high. Cool. All right, so anyway, I go to the next thing. So with that being said, right, if people are saying things that they don't understand, that they don't have a grasp on, then what they start to create and manifest in their world is that same level of cloudiness and confusion in situations that they don't understand and don't have a grasp on. So essentially they're reinventing or regenerating the fantasies of religion that were handed to them by their overlords, because by your overlords you were given a lot of things that make no sense and you were told to trust in it, believe in it. Why? Because you got to have more faith. Believe in it, right? So you just accept it. And then you foundate your life upon it. When something happens, I've had this situation with people, hey, let's go do such and such. Nah, I can't do that. Why? Because I'm a Christian. What's that? I believe in Christ. That's what the word Christian means? I don't think that's what it means. You know what that word means? Well, it doesn't matter what it means. The bottom line is I ain't doing that. Right. So you're foundating yourself on something that you don't understand. So you're foundating yourself on illusion and confusion. And you haven't moved into a place of illumination and information. You see, I don't mean to sound like Jesse Jackson right now with all the rhyming, but I think you understand what I'm saying, right? So it happened a few times. It's strong. I said, man, why I keep getting these consultations with people? We doing these readings, and as I'm talking, they're saying, "Yeah, Chief, but let me tell you," and then they're saying stuff that makes no sense, which is revealing that they don't understand what they're saying. And then when I'm saying, "Wait a minute, hold on, what are you saying there?" And it's like, "Oh, Chief, come on now, do you know what I'm saying?" No, I don't know what you're saying, and neither do you. Now I know the couple people that say, "He talking about," yeah, I'm talking about you. But it's all love, and I told you that on the phone when I was working with all of you. Like, I'm only correcting you because I care. I'm not correcting you because I like to be right and I gotta, you don't know what you're talking about. It's not that type of thing. I want you to always understand that. If you're coming to me for assistance and you're doing something that's causing calamity in your life, my job is to say, is to point out the problem to you, regardless of how you're going to feel about it. You can walk away saying, "Chief beat up on me." You don't know what it is to be beat up by me. If I beat up on you, you wouldn't be conscious. And I'm saying verbally, if I beat up on you, I'm not trying to sound like a tough guy, like I can knock everybody out. But if I really decided to focus all of my mind power on abusing you mentally, you wouldn't be able to be upset. It would be too overwhelming. So I'm not beating up on you when I'm pointing something out to you. What I'm beating up on is your ignorance, and that's the one that's talking. It's that egoic, aggressive ignorance. It's that ignorance that fights for survival because it's so aggressive. You see, but you can't fight me. You can't beat me. So now it feels like, you won't let me. So now you're getting frustrated because what you've normally do to fight your way through information or through truth in order to maintain your stance of ignorance. You got a big eye on your chest with a cape, super ignorance. You can't get that off because now you're standing against a juggernaut. And the juggernaut is saying, no, back up. What does that word mean? What are you saying? What do you mean? Only asking questions. again, for edification and information. You find the same exact level of frustration when you go into court buildings. Because by law, you're always asked a judge is supposed to provide clarification and information. And you can always say, Judge, excuse me, for my own clarification and information, are you saying boom, 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 boom? They're not, by law, they can't deny you whenever you're saying, I'm trying to ask for clarification and information, because that's their job. But what do most of the time? Don't ask me that, ask your lawyer. But your job is to give information and clarification. And then if you keep asking, they'll threaten you with holding you in contempt of court. Why? Because they're aggressively pursuing the path of forced ignorance. They know they don't know what they're talking about. They know they're lying on the stand, on the bench rather. You see? So when you just start asking questions, you're parting the clouds. Wait a minute. I'm trying to get some clarity, some clarification. I'm trying to get some information. What is information? To inform Atum. Atum Ra. What is Atum Ra? I'm trying to get some light at the very base of my atomic level. I'm trying to inform Atum. And I'm looking for clarification. But you can't inform Atum because you're lying. So like when someone uses phrases and terms and they don't understand them, and you say, wait a minute, I'm trying to get some inform Atum. And they get frustrated because you don't have the ability to inform Atum. Because you saying stuff that doesn't make sense. You're not even informed at the atomic level. You see, that's what that turns into. All right. So the idea of, like we see in that book, and 2 Timothy's, where it's saying again, preach the word, be instant in season, not a season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. It puts you into a place now, whether you're a leader, community leader, teacher, whatever it is that you are, that you're gonna maintain your ground and stand on your square of light and truth and information, regardless if it's well received or not. You see, and through my journey of consciousness, I've seen so many people who only teach in season, right? And in season, what that means is it's not really necessarily speaking about a time period dispensation, like people are more receptive in the summertime, so let me come out and do my workshop in the summer. It's not necessarily talking about that. It's more so speaking about where you're at personally, right? So in season is like when I'm inspired to teach, or when I'm inspired to be this individual or this person that I'm saying is this character, right? So when I'm inspired to be that, I'll be that. Or when I'm well received, I'll be that, right? Out of season will be like when I don't feel like it. Or it will be like when I'm not received, when I'm teaching and people are, hey, they're on the phone with me and they say, Chief, you beating up on me, and they're trying to cry, and I'm saying, I don't care nothing about you crying. Get over it. Anyway, see, that's out of season, where what I'm saying is not being received. It's not, it doesn't seem like the seeds are being planted, and people are really obsessed with the feeble and the weak place that they currently are, and don't want to extend beyond that. They don't want to establish a greater and stronger relationship with truth because they don't feel inspired right now by what it is that you're saying. You see, so being able to stand on your square, whether you're in season or out of season, is one of the key markers of a true revolutionary, of a true teacher, of a true guide, of a true Jegna. And through my journey and spirituality, which has been a pretty long journey, I've met so many people who only do this work in season. You see, so what they do is also, from an external standpoint, is whatever's going on in the world, they become that thing. They even use the jargon of whatever's becoming in the world. I was on YouTube the other day, which kind of like strengthened it. And I was looking at I think it was my recommended videos or something like that. I don't know. And I saw two guys who are prominent in the conscious networks. I'm not going to say any names. And they were commenting on something that's happening right now, and I guess we'll say the more secular environment. And that's pretty much all they ever do. Something happens and then they talk about it. Something happens, they talk about something. And they give you the decoding. They give you the deciphering. They give you the breakdown, of why this happens or why this one is doing this or why this one is doing that. And like I've said to you guys before, that's a very feminine thing. It's women who sit around and talk about what men are doing or what's going on in the world. Other men shouldn't really be talking about sitting around commenting on other men. You should be out doing things, being the one that's common and noteworthy. But why are you, so obsessed with being this news reporter and then passing that off as consciousness? Because in this, essentially, all you're doing is following the trends. See, you're only teaching in season. So they're talking about this now, I'm going to talk about that. They're talking about that now, I'm going to talk about that. So you're only talking about what's popular at the moment. You see, and all of the things that may still be relevant and may still be pertinent, but are not driven by what's going on and trending in the season, you completely leave that alone. You completely you abandon that because that's not what's hot right now. You see, so I look at some individuals like that sometimes, and I look at, of course, their followings, which are always, your following's always going to be large when you're teaching in season. That's just how it is, because you're never really saying anything that's going to pull anyone out of their current place, even if the current place that they're in is a place that they don't want to be. A lot of times people become very comfortable in their misery. You see, so as long as if we're all in a miserable time right now, or we're all afraid right now, and I speak to that and stay right there, I'll always be popular. You see, but when I go along with the grain of evolution, when I ride the head of that serpent, of that Kundalini DNA evolving, serpent, and I'm sitting on the head of that, then I'm always going to be the guy or the woman who might be out of season. You see, I don't feel like hearing that. Because it's more comfortable down at the root. It's more comfortable at the base of the snake. And the sad part is I look at a lot of these situations with people, and people get very frustrated because they're following and people like this, and they're listening, but they're not seeing any significant change in their lives. You see, and over the years, I've worked with so many different people, and people who purported themselves as Baba this or Ia that or Queen that or that, and inside of the community, and that they had all these grand ideas. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and I'm about this and I'm about that. And they always forget this one simple thing, that character is not what you say. Character is what you do. And what you do is predicated upon what you be. You see, so you can talk all you want. You can preach a good game, but it is what you do and what you consistently keep with that determines what your destiny is going to be. So you have so many people who come forth and they're just talking and talking and talking and talk. And that's mainly all they do is talk. They talk. But then when it comes time to do, they fall short. I know some people that the most they'll do is write a song or write a poem. That's as deep as it gets for them. I'm banging on the system. Listen to this new spoken word piece I did. That's as strong as it gets with them. But when it really comes down to get your fingernail, get some dirt underneath your fingernails, to get dirty, to maybe put your quote unquote liberty at risk. Maybe you might get cut, you might get a scar, something may happen. Then you really get to see where their character is. You see, so character will be determined by what is done, not by what is protested against, or not about what is declared. You see, because as long as I keep it right there, I can stay in season, because I live inside of a culture, inside of a system that doesn't really care that much about how much I talk. You see, not so concerned about that. You see, because we live in an information age, and people get a lot of information, profound information, and do nothing with it. So the talking is not so much, everyone's still so concerned about, because, the stuff I be talking about, man, they're going to come after me. They're going to do this. They're not going to do anything. They, quote unquote, nothing's going to happen. Because you're just talking, and they know all you ever going to do is talk. And you're only talking to people who only want to listen, but they don't really want to be inspired to do. You see? So the reality there is that when you start to move out of season. And when I'm saying out of season, again, I want to make it clear that that season is not a time dispensation, but that season is a spirit of receptivity. That season is a spirit of inspiration and creativity. You know, where you say, man, I feel like doing this. You know, you're always going to feel like being a phony as long as being a phony is rewarded. You know, but when it really comes time to get up off your behind and do something, or really have someone else's back, or be a ride or die, like, for instance, I have seen in these conscious groups that does not exist. And I have seen that personally, where there were moments for people who were shouting and screaming all that, we're brothers, you my brother thing, and this and that. And when it came time for something to really happen and for someone to really have your back, they disappeared into the shadows like cowards. You see? Now, those individuals, I don't think I'm required to have any respect for, and I don't have any respect for them. You know, they're worthless cowards, right? So sometimes we can have that worthless cowardice transferred to us without knowing it, because we begin to identify with these same type of individuals, especially if we're coming into our awareness brand new and fresh. We're fresh out of a big three religion. We don't know who we want to be or what we want to be yet, but we do know we don't want to be what we were doing and what we were being last year or last month, or even what we grew up with. And then we encounter these loudmouths, you know, and they have all the regalia. They got the right clothes on, you know, they got the right name. Yeah, they call me Baba, da-da-da, I'm Big Baba. I don't want to use any names. I don't want you to seem like I'm talking about anyone specifically, even though I am talking about specific people, but you don't know who I'm talking about. But, you know, they put up all of this grand regalia, you know, about who they are and what they're about. So it's attractive. You know, you get pulled into that because you come from that realm where you're used to a lot of talk. You see, but the ones who are actually doing, they don't talk as much. They just go and do. And those are the ones that end up in situations where they may be, again, unsafe. They may get a scar on them. They may lose friends. They may lose family, so forth and so on. You're not losing friends and family because you're making declarations of consciousness. People like to say that a lot. Yeah, since I became conscious, my family and friends don't mess with me. That's not it. They won't leave you because you're just talking about consciousness. It's the actions that become the litmus test, because people will be very uncomfortable with your actions. You see, especially if your actions shine a flashlight on them and all they do is talk. You see, I know some people, all they do is they run programs where, you know, they work with children and it seems admirable, but you give them opportunities to go work with adults. Let's go into the prisons. Let's do this. Let's do that. They don't want to do it. Because it's easy to sit up in the middle of the woods somewhere, or at a summer camp somewhere, or in a classroom somewhere, shouting and screaming at children all day. That's easy. And ultimately, when things go wrong or something happens, you know, you can always call in security. You know, that's not necessarily very difficult to do or very difficult to engage in, right? But then when you start getting to that place where you say, you know, I'm going to go into a place where I may not be received and I may have to pull different tricks out of my eye. You know, like, again, I'm going to go into a prison and I'm going to teach this stuff. And I'm going to have individuals in a room who are only sitting here because they want to get out of their cell. That's it. They didn't sign up for this class or this program because they're interested in what it is that I'm talking about. They just want to get out of their cell. It just gives them something to do. They're just figuring out ways to pass the time while they're doing their bid. Okay. And coming into that space and antagonizing me is another way for them to pass the time. You see? Now, if any of you have ever done any of this work, and like I've shared once or twice, I haven't shared it much, but all of this for me started in the prisons. Okay, the first time I ever did any type of, I mean, I did work before. I did public speaking before, but I mean, the first time I ever did any work where I was really like personally working with people and trying to bring some change about was in women's prisons. That's where I started in two different women's prisons. Okay, and then it went out from there. But that's an environment where most of the times women, they just want to cry. They just want someone they can tell their story to, cry. Then, you put some money on their books. At the end of the day, a lot of them, they might have little cons going like, yeah, I'm gonna go there, see if I can get some money out. It's just a little different thing. But there are some that are very sincere. They're like, yeah, I'm at rock bottom. I'm open and I'm willing to listen to whatever you got to say because it can't get much worse than this. I'm in jail. It can't get worse than this. So you have all different kinds of types, man. But you definitely know going in there that you're not necessarily who wants to go into the jail. You're not going to be inspired to want to go inside of the cage. You see, that's out of season. It could be for you personally. You're gonna go in, they're gonna look through your things, and they're gonna do a background check, and all. It's not an enjoyable experience. And then beyond that, once you get inside, you may have individuals who you may look like, if it's a woman's prison, your man, you may look like their ex-husband who got them locked up. So now you're dealing with that level of antagonism, you see, or they might be spending the whole time staring at your crotch. I mean, it's all kind of things that happen, right? Out of season. Can you still maintain where you are, or do you now become something different? You see, are you able to maintain and sustain your trajectory, or will the feeble-mindedness, or the weakness that we see so much perpetuated inside of these conscious groups, will you take on that identity where now you're changing your language, you're changing your tone because maybe the attacks that you come under? A good example is the movements now to really legitimate to make legitimate. I didn't want to try it for a third time. With third time's a doozy. But to make legitimate the movement and the transformation of people we like to call transgendered. Well, by using the term transgendered, you're already falling into the paradigm, because trans means to go across. So I'm going across genders, right? Now, I don't advocate that. You ain't going across genders just because you cut your penis off, or because you put a prosthetic penis. It doesn't make you the other gender. You didn't go across it, or because you get implants, you get breast implants, or because you take pills so that you can grow hips or breast, or you get butt injections. It doesn't now make you a woman, and at some point someone has to look at this and say, the amount of young people now who want to undergo these type of quote unquote gender reassignments, there's something wrong here. This is not normal, but of course, speaking and in season, we can't talk like that. Like everything I'm saying right now could be considered very offensive, you see. But what are we in 2017? Okay, in 1995, I wasn't with that. In 2000, I wasn't with that. In 2005, I wasn't with that. Why do I have to be with it now? Because the season, the spirit of the overlord dictates that I have to accept that now. I don't have to accept that. No, because I'm standing on my principles. Whether it's in season, means it's accepted and you receive it, or it's out of season where you don't receive it. Like I've said before, which people didn't like, I say, okay, you go through that operation and do all of that. What kind of stomach do you have? Do you have a man's stomach or a woman's stomach? What kind of tongue do you have? A man's tongue or a woman's tongue? Because see, for me, I'm not putting my tongue, I might kiss you, but I'm not putting my tongue on another man's tongue. I'm not interested in that type of thing. You see? I'll put my tongue on a woman's tongue. So if you go through that quote unquote gender reassignment, what kind of tongue do you have in your mouth now? Right? Okay. What kind of hands do you have? Do you have man's hands or do you have women's hands? Which one? You see, as we're going through that process, because I don't want to be touched by a man intimately. I don't mind being touched by a woman intimately. Okay. So if you're going through that process, are you going to cut off your hands and get women's hands, or do you have still the hands of men? I want to know. You see, so, I mean, we could go through. What kind of feet do you have? You see, I'll massage a woman's feet. I'm not massaging men's feet. No. So you cutting your feet off, so we could just go through it. And it's real simple. It's right in front of you. Now I'm allowed, it's my prerogative to have that choice of what it is that I want to interact with. But the fact that I just gave those examples right there could get me booed off of a podium. Why? Because that thought and that ideation is out of season. You see? So when you'll find that a lot of times you create this projection of confusion to your spiritual ecosystem because you're unable to maintain the grips and the positioning of the true season. Because also always understand that in the spirit world, there's no concept of time. So if there's no concept of time, then essentially, okay, no sound, Achille. Anybody else let me know if they have no sound, because I'm showing here that my sound is coming through just fine. So it might be you. All right. So somebody just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if I have sound. All right. I know there's a little bit of a delay. So let's see. Anybody let me know if this, I hear fine. Okay, so as long as you hear fine, I'm gonna keep going. Thank you, Brother Haru. Thank you, Lo. Thank you, Avery. Thank you, Tareem. And anyone else who pops up later, thank you. Brother Charles as well. Okay, and thank you kindly. Thank you kindly. Thank you. All right, thank you kindly, Sister Alicia. Thank you. Thank you, Brother AWAX. I have sound, but it's kicking me off over and over. That's probably on your end. Brother AWAX. All right. So what I'm saying is that, thank you, T. Lee. Thank you kindly. So that moment where we make that revolutionary movement is a lot of times is, because again, the revolutionary movement is always based on crossing a bridge of no return. You see? So when we cross those bridges, thank you kindly, Coco's Loop. So when we cross that bridge of no return, sometimes we're going to make those statements, or we're going to take those stances that's going to alienate us from those who are not in that space. Now they may cheer and push us on, like, someone said something to me yesterday where she said, one of the values of you is that you say things that a lot of us want to say, but we may not have the strength to say it, and they were talking about me, and I said, yeah, I've kind of been told that before, and years ago it used to frustrate me. And some of you in Anu, you have been witness. And let me apologize to you. I don't think I've ever apologized. Maybe I did, but you've been witness to that frustration. When you've been around me in person and things have happened and you've heard me say, and those of you know who you are, like, why am I the only one saying something? Maybe something was happening in the moment and I had to correct the situation, but there were other people around. And I'm like, why does it always have to be me? Why do I always have to be the heavy? And so I understood what she was saying, but it was not always something, nor can I even say now, but not always necessarily something that I valued. Right. But so you'll have people who will kind of sit behind you in the shadows and say, yeah, you say it. Yeah, go ahead. You say it. But the truth is, it's going to be those frontline warriors who are going to say, listen, I don't care how you take it. That's why there's a pastor, I believe his name is Eli Manning. And he's the pastor of the Atla Church. And no, not Eli Manning. I'm sorry, that's a football player. But I'm mixing up my interest. But the Atla Church down in Harlem, his name is James Manning. And James Manning, man, James Manning's a psychopath, man. He's crazy. And I've spoken about him before. I don't think I've spoken about him on shows and stuff, but like personally, I've talked about him. I think maybe on one show I mentioned the Atla Church before. And if anyone spends time in the Harlem area, ever walked by his church, you've seen the billboards on, not the billboard, the church announcement thing. He always has some real fiery things that he says about Europeans, about same gender loving people, or same gender sexing. Let me say what it really is. Same, because I love people of my gender, but I don't want to run up in their, their feces hole. I love them. I got relatives who are my same gender. I love them, but I'm not having sex with them. So you see all these terms, they create an acceptance of a paradigm, and they do it in a tricky way. Now, if it was something that spiritually we really wanted, you wouldn't have to play all these tricks. But anyway, yeah, James Manning, man, guy is crazy. He's crazy, but I love him for his commitment to his crazy. He means what he says, and he says stuff a lot of times that it makes no sense. I saw him in one video where he was saying that the best thing that ever happened to black people was that we were taken in slavery and brought to America, because we were backwards in Africa. We had no sense of business, and we never built a building over one. Excuse me. We never built the building over one story. And he meant this. I mean, he's on the pulpit. Yeah. Going off and, them Africans never built nothing over one story, and he means what he says, and he's not biting his tongue for anyone, he's not biting his tongue for anyone, and I love him for it. Now, a lot of people will look and say, well, what's wrong with you, Chief Yuya? Like, what's your problem? That you would love someone so off, someone so vile, someone so hateful. Like he one of the messages that was on his church board, he had put up once that Obama has released the homo demons on the black man. Look out, black woman, a white homo may take your man. Another one was Jesus would stone homos. Stoning is still the law. And these are the things that he's posting out in public on the front of his church. You see, on the front of his church. So the thing is that I love about him is that he wholeheartedly is invested in where he's at. He's wholeheartedly invested where he's at. Whether I agree with him or I don't agree with him, that doesn't matter. I understand him. You see, and that's one of the problems, man. We always trying to agree with each other, but not trying to understand one another. And he makes his positioning and his stance very clear, so there's no second guessing. There's no ambiguity there. See, he's a man. Now, just because he says something, we may not. Because I personally don't feel that people who are practicing that sex style should be stoned. I don't. That's not my take on that. Personally, I may not agree with it, but hey, I don't agree with people eating Doritos. But that's their business. Now, are some things harmful to the community? Are some things harmful to the movement of Black liberation? Absolutely. But eating Doritos is harmful to that. Driving around in a car with no registration and insurance is harmful to that. Kicking your wife down a flight of steps is harmful to that. Making a simp out of your sons because you want to be a single mother is harmful to that. There's a lot of things that's harmful to where we're trying to get as a people. I don't personally feel that, because people are going through those experiences where they may be misinformed, or they're going through experiences where there's certain sicknesses that abound, which are cultural sicknesses that we've inherited from a sick cultural paradigm. I don't necessarily feel like a person should be put to death. I do feel that there's certain things that a person should be put to death for, but I won't get into all of that because I got enough problems. So so yeah, it's just real interesting. Like I said, someone like him, Atla Worldwide Church, the stances that he's taken on the LGBT community and the European gentrification of Harlem, and how he's been very vocal about it and open, and he's standing behind that black metal fence. Anybody, if you ever been to that church, that black metal fence, he sometimes he's out there on the bullhorn, and he did one thing once, and the video's on YouTube somewhere, I got to find it, where there was a protest in front of the church with other LGBT community. And he went out, he didn't go past his metal gate. The police were there. He wasn't doing anything legal, and he was ripping into him. But it was funny. He was making up little rhymes and, You know, he said, look at this one here. Look at this one right here. Look at him. Look at this dyke. You know, look at that. She probably practiced witchcraft. She's a witch dyke. Look at him. And then, of course, somebody would come on. How could you say that? Ah, shut up. Shut the hell up. You know, he's just in it. You see, I love him. I love him because he's crossed the point of no return. He's completely sold out for what it is that he advocates. I wouldn't sit down and have dinner with the man or nothing. You know, I don't want to be friends with him now. You know, I love him from a distance, you know, because he's crazy, you know, but I appreciate his commitment. You see, I appreciate his commitment. And I know that may sound crazy to a lot of you, but you got to grow up. I've been saying that for years now. Grow up. You got to get out of this kindergarten consciousness. You know, and that's one of the things that's got us stuck. We've identified with some very sophomoric principles. You know, I speak about that in light ways sometimes. Sometimes the way we even look at the LGBT community is very childish. I've heard one speaker one time say this. You know, he was on a popular radio show and he was speaking against that community. And then the host said, well, what if that community wanted to donate money and gave you $2 million, would you accept it? And with his coon silly behind, he said, yeah. I mean, just put a different name on a check, but yeah, send that bread in. So what are you standing on? What are you really saying? You're preaching in season, preaching out of season, but you're not really committed to what it is that you're talking about. You see, if you listen to the fullness of that particular passage, preach the word. Be instant, in season, out of season, instant, no hesitation. Reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. So what does that mean, long suffering and doctrine? Long suffering brings patience. We're just talking about patience. Doctrine, that's your teaching. So what it's basically saying is, and some of you have been on the receiving end of this. So you've gotten consultations with me and you got frustrated. And I said, I don't care if you're frustrated. I'm going to keep banging this in your head till you get it. I'm going to keep giving you this doctrine with long suffering. I'm going to be patient because if you're frustrated, imagine how annoyed I am. You think it's not frustrating to me too, to have to keep going over the basics, to keep going over simple things that you should have gotten already if you were this conscious as you think you are? Because the only reason you're frustrated is because you think that you have something that you really don't have. You think you know something that you really don't know. That's why you're frustrated. So when you're asked a question about it, not told what you should be thinking, but just asked a question, you get frustrated. You want to see a great example of that? Go back and listen to the show that I did on homosexualization or homosexuality in African religion. If you listen to that show, I didn't put forth one assertion, not one. I lost what? I can count them on my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. I lost like 7 students after that segment. 7 I don't care. Go ahead. I don't want you around anyway if you're that weak. I don't want feeble-minded people around me. I want to work with intelligent people. You see? So all I did was ask, and they got so frustrated. My first question was, okay, cool. I said, I'm curious, you know, when we speak about the interplay between male and female and African spirituality, how do you resolve that? Like when we speak about a husband and wife coming together, how is it that you process that? Do you feel left out? Now, that was a question of compassion. Do you feel left out when we're doing rituals or singing songs about male and female coming together and that's not what you do? How do you resolve it? People had issues with that question. Yeah, because you haven't resolved it, sucker. That's why you have a problem with it. You know, then I asked the question, I said, you know, because you keep saying this has been around since the beginning of time. And I said, well, I've never seen any pottery or reliefs or artwork in Yoruba culture, or even in Nok culture where that was exhibited, where I saw 2 men laying together or 2 women laying together. I've never even saw a pataki that spoke to that. Can you share with me where you've seen that? No answer. You see? But you're getting more and more frustrated. But all I'm doing is asking questions. And I said, if you show it to me, I'm with you. I mean, not with you in that community, no. But if you show it to me, I'll submit to that. Because why would I have a personal investment in the history? I don't care. I wasn't there. So I'm not personally invested like it's gotta be this. If it's not that, it's not that. I wasn't there. I'm making my own history now. I'm not interested in it. I don't care if you know, ancestors did it or elders did it. I don't take on everything from the past because some of the things that we did were ass backwards. We can't take every single thing and not scrutinize it. Some of the things we did back home on the continent in antiquity did not work for us. You see, from the moment we started to form and crystallize into a human form, taking on the human mindset and the human psyche, the crazy was already there. We already started doing crazy things because we now had the human body. When we came from the non-physical to the physical, the decline began right then and there. We didn't just start getting crazy 20 years ago or 30 years ago or 40 years ago. I know we always want to cite our grandparents and, well, you know, when your granddaddy was crazy. Well, my grandma, she used to make biscuits from scratch. Your grandmother shouldn't be feeding you all them biscuits. That's why you're so unhealthy in there. That's why grandma had diabetes. That food wasn't any good. That's not your food. You see, that's not the food of your ethnic group. That's not the food of your people. You see, so we're always going back and to recent years. Even when we do our spiritual work, we go back just a couple of years. We say, okay, well, you know, I'm calling on my ancestors, my uncle, so-and-so. Well, what about the ancestors from 1,000,000 years ago? What about them? What were they doing? You see, but I'm going to tell you some of the stuff they was doing was crazy. Because the moment you take on a physical form, you're entering into the world of corruption because your physical form is corrupted. You see, that's the whole basis of it. Right now, you got all kind of dust mites and bacteria crawling on you, not to even mention the worms in your intestines. You're processing, you got feces in you and urine and all kind of nasty stuff. What's so perfect about that? It's disgusting. You know, we're walking toxic time bombs. That's why when a person dies, their body blows up and it stinks and all that stuff like that. You see? So the moment you take on a physical form, perfection, you're striving for perfection, but you're not going to get it. You see? Because you're going through a decline. You're going through a fermentation of the greater consciousness of the universe. It's fermenting itself. You are the fermenting wine. You're the alchemy, the water being turned into wine, as we read about Yahshua did it in Canaan at the wedding. That's you. You're the fermentation of the wine to be consumed later. Consumed by who? By you in your higher form, which will give you alternative thinking. What happens when you ingest spirits? Your mind goes to another place where it wasn't. You develop alternative thinking. You see? That's for most of us. Me, I get violent. That's why I don't drink. That's why I don't drink. All right. You know, I try to keep the drink because I get paranoid and then I get violent and then I start touching people and doing things I shouldn't do. So I stay away from the libations. Just give me the cranberry juice. Give me a little water. Rum I'm okay with, but anything outside of that, it's just not a good scene. But for most normal people, when they drink certain things or take in certain libations and things like that, their mind goes into an alternate space. And it could even just be, you know, something that doesn't have a lot of alcohol in it. You know, like Roots tonic. I used to get buzzed off of drinking Rootsman drink because it's got a little bit of that fermented. I still kind of do a little because I'm not a heavy drink. I got pissy drunk off a wine cooler one time, and I didn't even finish the wine cooler. It was half of a wine cooler, and I had to lean against a building to walk. You know, that was years ago. You know, I think I got a little better tolerance now. But what I'm saying is that, again, going into those alternative places of thought. So we are the fermentation of the higher thought. You see, we're the fermentation. So the moment that higher thought said, okay, I'm going to crystallize myself into human form, it was rotting already. That's why you have to have the 42 declarations of Ma'at to remind yourself, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't do that, I didn't do that. That filthy go-kart of a body, that old rickety shopping cart, you know, with that wheel that keeps spinning around, that where somebody left their empty coffee cup in it and the old ripped up circular, you know, inside the cart, that's your body.
You know, the one where you think is cool, but then you get inside the shopping mart and it keeps, you know, the back wheel keeps getting stuck and you leaving skid marks all on the floor. But you done already put 2 big things of water in it and some detergent. You're like, man, I don't want to take this stuff out. I gotta go back outside. I'm just gonna push through. We're just gonna push through. You know, that's your body. You see, that's the body you came into the world with. The raggedy shopping cart. Okay. So the crazy was already there. It's been there for years. It's been there for years. You see? Okay. So a lot of times we're not understanding that aspect, that, you know, how we're perceiving each other and how we're perceiving what we should do and when we should do it and things like that. You know, so that preaching in season and preaching out of season, there's nothing wrong with identifying that, listen, you know, we're flawed. We came in flawed. You see, and that flawness is necessary. The candy cap is necessary. I broke that down in I think it was 14 keys. Yeah, I did in 14 keys and try to put them all together. But when we speak about, you know, the creative process and where creative matter comes from, it comes from the matter of chaos. You see, with no chaos, there's no creativity. With no women, there's no creativity, because women are the chaos of the universe. They're the chaos of the planet. The feminine spirit is the chaos of the universe. Okay. So yeah, women are chaotic. You don't believe me? Look at, that's why I don't really even do some of these blog talk shows anymore, especially the ones that are women ran, because they're always chaotic. Then behind the scenes, they're always arguing, you know, and then trying to get me to get into it. Yeah, Baba, you know, let me let you know before you come on the show, you know, I've been having some trouble with the fellow goddesses, and, you know, all that. Ah, God, that's why I stopped doing them. Or they be on there talking stupidness and going off on each other. But that's where the creativity comes from. You see, now there's a fine line between chaos and confusion. So don't get it twisted. A lot of you are just confused. Okay, it's not chaos like jazz, where it's just improvisation and ad-libbing, or like what some of you guys do in the kitchen. You see, some of you go in the kitchen, and I like to mess with women, you know, just being mean. But, you know, we might have some food in the kitchen. I'll come and say, hey, what you making tonight? And I can tell she doesn't know, but she's about to freestyle. And she'd be like, oh, I'm gonna hook up these vegetables, and, you know, we got this quinoa and da da da. I'll be like, oh, well, all right, cool. What's the name of that though? What's the name of that dish? And I know, you know, she's freestyle. That's how I like to play around and be mean. You know, what's the name of it though? Huh? Yeah, I'm saying, what's the name of the dish that you get ready to make? Get out the kitchen. Why you always gotta come in here bothering me? Come on, man. And everything stops. I'm not gonna cook nothing else till you get out the kitchen. Right. Because it's an operation of chaos. You don't know what you're getting ready to do, but you know you're about to do something. It's gonna taste good because you're just being creative. You got some vegetables over here, you got some quinoa over there, you might have some nori seafood rolls over there. You know, maybe you got some nice some that stinky durian fruit for dessert. You're gonna hook up some durian fruit or whatever, but you don't know what it's called, but you're just gonna flow because that's your energy of flow. That's your energy of chaos. So, you know, when I come in there, I'm playing, you know, because I know what's going on, and I appreciate and value that feminine talent, that feminine tool. Whereas me, I know what I'm making. You come in the kitchen with you, I'm boom, 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 boom. All right. And this is called, even if I make up a name, you know, Baba's Surprise. Sit your ass down and, you know, or clean the table off, you know. So it's a little different. We flow with a different energy like that, you know. But understanding again that there are inherent flaws to our creation, you see, on purpose. There are inherent flaws to our creation that if you cue in on the primal aspects of what we are and what we're designing ourselves to be, then you're always going to be in a place where you're either in season or out season. But either way, you're gonna swamp priest jerky. That's funny. But I was reading the chat room. But you're going to kind of cue into a space where you shouldn't be moving around too much. You see? So like if I speak about the LGBT community and say, no, I don't agree with it. That's out of season. I'm supposed to agree with it. I'm supposed to agree with a person's right to choose what they want to be. I do agree with that. Be whatever you want. I mean, hell, cut your arms off, put robot arms on. Now that's what I want to see. You know, everybody's doing all this boring stuff. Like, oh, I got my nails done and guys putting weaves in. Forget, I'm not interested in that, man. Cut your eyes out and put a cyborg eye. That would be cool. You know, put a laser in your eye. You know, take your arms off and turn them into 2 jackhammers. You know, so that I could hire you out for construction jobs. You know, do something interesting. Like, but just turning yourself into a girl, that's an old trick. We've seen girls already. I want to see a cyborg. You know, put horse legs on the back of you. Turn your back legs into horse thighs. You know, things like that. So what I'm saying is, yeah, I absolutely support a person's right to choose, be whatever the heck you want, but it doesn't make you that thing. Like now there's a video circulating of a European woman who's gone through these different tanning. I know you guys know the video. It's been pretty popular on social media, but she's tanned herself a bunch of times and you know, she's gotten certain surgery done and she's going to, I think, Nigeria to be amongst the people. And there was an interview about it. And she was just saying like she was very sincere. Like she was like, oh no, like she was really trying to explain to them. She's German. And her name is Martina Big, actually. And she was really trying to explain like, oh no, like basically you don't understand. Like, no, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go learn the culture because I like the way Black women look, you know, and this and that. And the 2 white hosts are listening to her like, what is wrong with you? Like, what's you know? And he even said, you know, you can't just, there's a whole history there of, and a whole experience of oppression and this and that goes into being Black. You can't just be that by getting these, because she's got these really huge breast implants and she got her lips done. Her lips are bigger and she darkened herself and all these different things, you know. And they're saying, you know, you can't just become a Black woman because you do those things, right? And you know, it's circulating around on a lot of all the you know, the conscious, I guess they call like Black Twitter or something like that, and everybody's up in an uproar. But you know, I know a lot of Black women who bleach their skin and who wear weaves, you know, not just for variety. Like, say, I like to switch it up. Yeah, but you keep switching up into different white things. What they wear, the weaves, you know, and things like that. And they even try to sculpt and change their body in the gym to fit someone else's aesthetic. So, you know, I suppose that whole transmigration of race, you know, trans ethnicity has been going on for some time now. And, you know, now that it's coming back the other way, it doesn't feel so good. It's kind of like when that tennis player did that to Serena Williams. And she had stuffed herself with, you know, the things in the back to make her butt look bigger and her breasts look bigger. And people was, you know, really say that's racist. That's racist. Well, is it racist when you wear that weave? Is it racist when you put those blue contacts in your eye? But I guess you can always say, well, there's Black people with blue eyes. There's Black people with blonde hair. But you know what you're doing. Stop acting stupid. You know, is it racist then? See, that's a part of, you know, and like it was just said, like someone just said in the chat, all in one. It reminds me of what they do in blackface. Yeah, but you know what? I'm gonna tell you something about this crazy woman, because she's obviously crazy. She's sincere. You could see it and like you could see when she's talking about, she really wants to be a Black person. You know, she's Rachel Dolezal. You know, she's not doing it to be funny. She's not like, and she's like, no, I'm going to go to Nigeria because, you know, I need to learn about the different ways to be Black. She's dead serious. So why is she villainized? But the guy who cuts off his penis and gets breast implants to be a woman, even though, and who really ignores the history of being a woman. I don't care if you felt like a little girl since you was 10 years old. You're not a girl. You're not a woman. Why is he not villainized? Why is he supported? Why is he cheered on? But this individual Who? Yeah, I mean, she's nutty. The chick, the broad is crazy. I understand that, but why is she villainized? Because she wants to go there. You know, she's gonna go get some of that mandingo. You know that. You know she's going to Nigeria to look for Idris Elba. So she's going there to handle that. But why is she villainized over the other one? Now, as far as I'm concerned, they're all sick in the head. They're all sick. They're all crazy. But I wouldn't hold one over the other. Again, as we form ourselves into physical form, the crazy is going to be there. You can't get around that. You know, sometimes we just ignore the insanity of ourselves when we're looking at the double standard. Like somebody mentioned, I just saw Jamie Anaya said, when I was 5, I was trying to give myself a Jerry curl like Michael Jackson. Give yourself. I know that must have been crazy. 5-year-old giving themselves a Jerry curl. I don't even want to know how you was trying to do that. But yeah, we don't talk about Michael Jackson, right? Oh, because he had vitiligo, right? You know, we certain people we can't talk about. You know, that they're beyond scrutiny. Don't talk about them. You know, we don't talk about Serena Williams, right? Getting pregnant by a European man. Are we upset about that? Or are we still embracing Serena Williams? We're going to still embrace her, right? You know, even though she's done nothing for Black people other than play tennis. You know, she's up on a tennis court crip walking. That's all right though, even though her sister was killed in gang violence. That's how nutty this chick is. Your sister was killed in gang violence and you up there on a tennis court crip walk, sea walking. But that's okay. Then you marry and get pregnant by a white man. That's okay. Right? Right? That's all right. Nate Parker comes out with a movie that does wonderful things for his people, Birth of a Nation, but he got a white wife. Why he got to have a white wife? You see how silly people are? How dumb they are. You see the double standard at play there? See, we have no problem, you know, or Eve. Eve goes and gets with a millionaire white husband. It's all good. Nobody says anything. There's no uproar. There's no backlash. There's nothing. Zero. Tay Diggs or Tyrese gets with a Arab girl, and everybody goes crazy. I can't stand Tyrese. Yeah, see, that's the insanity. In season and out of season. Figure out your stance and make sure that whatever you're standing on, that it makes sense. Because some of the stuff that you're railing against, some of the stuff that you're arguing about makes no sense whatsoever. None. You can't say you're against something, but then see a problem. Because like, let's say if this same little psycho chick, Martina Big, she goes to Nigeria and she restores a shrine like was done in Osogbo. You know, Osogbo was dilapidated. Matter of fact, when you guys get a chance, research Osogbo and who restored Osogbo. You know? But let's say if Martina Big goes to Nigeria and she restores something there. You know, she does a great thing for Nigeria. You know, she opens up a school that people can go to. What do we say then? You know, do we say something good about her? Do we say, you know, I can guess what'll come. She's an ancestor. Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, we'll make up something. She's an ancestor who returned. And that's why she was, you know, yearning to be Black so bad, because she wanted to be her true self, because she's really an ancestor. You see, the insanity abounds. At some point, you got to look at yourself in the mirror, as uncomfortable as it may be. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself if you're full of SHIT. Just ask yourself, look at your eyes in the mirror and say, am I full of SHIT? And then wait for the answer. Because the answer is going to come. It's going to come. You know, some of you are going to hear a resounding yes. The mirror might even shake. It might crack. You have to determine what you stand on, and that determines, you know, what you're going to base on, whether you're in season or out of season. That's what's going to determine that. Like the things I'm saying right now, and for the group that I'm saying it to, it's out of season. Because you're gonna say, oh, Chief Yuya, he must got a thing for that white lady. He want to get with that white lady. You know, that's what you think. You know, it's always just like when we did the show on homosexuality. The show hadn't even come out yet. We had put advertisements in a couple of Facebook groups, and don't you know, some fool said that there must be something funny about me. There's something funny, and I'm talking about me, Chief, that maybe I'm gay because I'm doing that show. They didn't even know what the show was about, other than homosexuality inside of African religions. That's it. But as soon as they saw that rainbow flag and Chief Yuya speaks with certain guests about that was it. Chief Yuya is probably gay. See, that's how stupid and ignorant people are. You know, where they go to things because they don't listen, they don't read. You know, and sometimes now, based off of that, we'll develop philosophies and doctrines off of the ignorance of other people and things that they would say. You see, like even when I saw those comments, I didn't jump in and say who you talk. I don't care what you say. You're an idiot. What you don't even matter. What you're saying doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter one iota because you can't even read. Because this was a day before we even did the show. You didn't even know what the show was about, or the fact that I'm saying I don't agree with it. You see, so it's just an example that I'm giving. But regardless, you going into the mirror and asking yourself that question gives you an opportunity to really see, like, what am I standing on? You know, I'll give you one little special thing because why? Because some of y'all ain't gonna look it up. So let me just give it to you. Susan Winger. Susan Winger. She's from Austria. You see? And you need to learn about her. When she moved, she died in like 09, 010, somewhere around there. But she came into she came into Nigeria in the 1950s. European woman, Austrian. And learn about her contribution to the Osogbo Sacred Grove, to the shrines there, and the condition that they were in before she got there. Now, this white woman, you know, she committed and dedicated her life to restoring the Osogbo shrine. Right? So now what do we say to that? Do we say she should do it because her people came in there? Her people came in there and colonized the people. That's the least she could do. Do we say that? Do we say, well, like Chief Yuya says, everybody who look white ain't white? Everybody who look black ain't black? Is it one of those instances? Or do we just shut up and be thankful that somebody did something, especially considering our people were there all that time and could have did something, but it wasn't that important to them. They didn't do anything. Did we say that, or would that be blasphemous? You know, you got to build up your heart, man, because your heart is the seat of your intelligence, according to our Yoruba construct. Remember, the heart is where the soul actually resides. You see, the heart is where the soul resides. You know, the heart is important, man. We don't give the heart enough play and our understanding. But you know, when you're coming into an indigenous understanding, you have to look at what's emphasized in an indigenous understanding. Your heart is your point of indifference. You know, like I teach you guys with the chakras. Your three major ones above, three major ones below. So it's the heart that sits as an indifferent fulcrum that says, what is it that I want to do? You know, objectively. That's the heart, because the heart says, I'm not attached to either one. I'm just pumping blood. You know, that's why when we look at Ogun creates nations with his machete. He cuts boundaries. You go over there, you go over there. There's a lot of stories with Ogun like that, or there's stories when people were fighting over food and Ogun came on the scene, took out his machete, cut the food in half. You take yours, go over there, you take yours, go over there. So he always defeats insanity or internal fights by making a boundary. You see, the heart is a boundary. It's a boundary between heaven and earth, because everything above the heart chakra is esoteric. Everything below the heart chakra is emotional. You know, lust, pleasure, sensuality, self-esteem. That's all the things that are below. Then when you go above, it's all about abstract expression, spiritual connection, owning your own crown as a guru. Yeah, but that's all the esoteric aspects, you see. So when we look at that heart and we understand, it's the indifferent aspect that we're able to look at things and not be so swayed by what the season is. You see? Because the heart, that's why in a judgment scene, what is the feather weighed against? Is it weighed against your sacral chakra? Nope. Is it weighed against your sacred yoni or the divine lingam? Nope. Is it raised against your intelligence, your brain? Nope. Is it raised against all of your book collection that you have on your shelf? Nope. Is it raised against your tricep? Because you've been in the gym getting it in your whole life, taking care of that beautiful body. Is it raised against your tricep or your core muscles? Nope. It's weighed against your heart. How clean did you keep your heart? And you know what the cleanliness of the heart is indifference. Why is the heart the seat of the soul? Because the soul is indifferent and non-judgmental. So it lives in an indifferent and non-judgmental realm. Because the soul sees through the covering. The soul will see a Susan Winger and say, hey, whatever. Or Martina Big. Whereas we look at the covering and say, we draw up our own story surrounding it. But think about for all the people who were sending me that image and getting upset, and wouldn't you want everybody to want to be black? You telling me black is the thing to be? We even have some people who call themselves black supremacists. So if you say that long enough, why wouldn't a person want to be that? A lot of people who are black want to be white because of the same type of programming. You see? So what I'm saying is that when you are looking at things from the heart, you see the objective perspective. Like when you see a movement towards unisexualization or homosexualization, or what I call dissexualization, because there is no sex between same sexes. You can't do it. You can masturbate each other all day. It doesn't mean you're having sex. If you're not entering into the course, there's no sex that's happening. Okay. It's just masturbation. And people take it how they want, but it's just I can break it down. Now, the only thing you can do to combat that is use your emotions. That's the only thing you can do, or try to shame me, or try to tell me that I'm archaic, I'm a caveman. I don't care about any of that, because I'm looking at things from my heart perspective. I'm looking at things indifferently. I don't give a damn about what you say. I'm going to keep my heart light, because I'm not going to absorb myself in the season. Absorbing myself in the upper or absorbing myself in the lower will keep my heart heavy, because the identification becomes now something that exists on the planetary or on the human realm. So when it comes time for the judgment scene, I can't go to the next level because I'm identifying with my human experience too much. If I'm saying, yeah, it's all about the pineal, it's all about the pineal, we got to raise the kundalini to the pineal, and I'm stuck on the pineal, I'm still stuck on something that's a human component. You see, I'm still stuck on something that's a projection or a tool of my humanity. I don't need the pineal in the next realm. I don't need it. That's why the brain was cast aside as a part of burial rites. I don't need the brain, because I'm not using that form of intelligence at the next level. That's what I use to navigate this realm. So if I'm only identifying myself with the glorification of my intelligence, which is again one of the very big problems when it comes with consciousness here, people love to reappraise and glorify what they think they know, to the point that that's all they can identify with, what they think they know. So when it comes time to experience something beyond their circumference of knowing, they can't go there with you. So they get stuck. See, the indifference of my heart realm allowed me to do a show with a bunch of dissexuals and ask them some sincere questions and say, hey, if you can show me this, I'm with you. Not, again, I'm going to reiterate. I know people like to do these little cut up and remixes with audio. Not with you. not in no hands-on practices. I'm not going to no meetings. There ain't nothing like that. But I can understand and sympathize with your perspective. If you can show me this, because I'm not attached to any idea. I'm not loyal to any idea other than the shackling that I have to my own purpose and ascension. That's it. I'm sold out for that purpose. And in order to be sold out for that, I have to work from the fulcrum of the heart chakra. That's why a lot of times when you're trying to energize a specific chakra, it's always good to check with the heart and use the heart to send energy to that chakra. You see? That's why you find in more advanced cultures, the writing is not from left to right, it's from right to left. Because when you're writing from left to right, like we do in the Anglosphere, you're sending energy out of the heart. As opposed to when you're writing words of power and you're bringing them in from right to left, you're feeding the heart. You're pushing them into the heart. You see? So you're energizing that heart. So that way, when it comes time to work with your brow chakra, your crown chakra, or your foot chakra, you now can use the energy of your heart chakra, which is an indifferent energy, to charge it. Well, that's no different when you're using your Ori, which is a characterless energy, to charge your Orisha, which has the character. But you don't get stuck in the Orisha, because if you get stuck in the Orisha, now you're stuck in the astral realms. You identify yourself with the characterless and a non-judgmental aspect of the Ori. You see? That's what propels and energizes everything that's around you. It's your soul consciousness, not, Chief, you's a teacher. Who, so what? You know what I'm saying? So what? Or I'm a vegan chef. So what? I know this book. I read all of Amos Wilson's books. I read all of Wade Noble. I read all of Astra Kwesi. I did that. So what? So that was just a part of your journey moving through your chakras. Then you come to a point of indifference where you're able to say, I don't really care what I read. Huh. What happens next? Who cares? Yeah, but they know you for this and they know you for that. So what? Who cares? You see? Who cares? What do I need to be next? See, that's when you're ready to do real magic, because you're ready to be the fool. The fool relinquishes all ego and says, so what? You're a grown man. You should be, so what? If this is what I need to do to ascend and to continue my path and my work of evolution, this is what I'm going to do. I don't care if I have to relinquish the egoic identity that you've become comfortable with or that fits and matches with the season of the world right now. I could care less. I'm relinquishing myself of the responsibility and the burden of that identity to be what it is that I need to be. You see? And then what comes right after the Fool card? The Magician. We're talking tarot now. Now as the Magician, now I can finally manifest something, because I couldn't manifest something as long as I was living out someone else's identity. You see? People get trapped in these identities. So me saying something like, yeah, well, let's look at Susan Wenger. Let's look at this and that and that. Is there another story there? Is another angle there? And I couldn't even say I'm comparing the two together, because Martina big. I think the chick's great. But hey, maybe there's something else going on there. Maybe there's something deeper. It's easy for me to say the chick is crazy. That's easy. That's anybody. I could do that without. I say that. I say it about most people. So it's not hard for me to make that statement. But is there something deeper happening there that maybe I'm unaware of? You see? And ultimately, the level of angst that we feel behind these situations shows our own lack of control. What did I say in the beginning? If you all remember, the only kingdom and rule that you can really have is in your own mind. Kingdom, your head, the dome, dominion, kin dominion, family dominion. Well, what's the first family? Well, the ancestors that exist inside of your blood. The imperative and the purpose and the aim and the objective that they gave to you, is that what rules what you're doing? Or are you ruled by somebody else's kingdom? Huh? Wake up every day at whatever, go to school, wrap your books in comic paper. Buy these sneakers, buy these shoes, eat this food, wear this kind of jewelry, speak this kind of language. Because it all helps to build up my dominion. But when you look at your own self and you look at what's going on with you, what exactly are you doing to build up your own internal kingdom aside from reading books? I mean, reading books is cool, but reading books is not the end all be all. There's more going on. There's more that's needed in order to build a kingdom up. So are you identifying with yourself as your own personal ruler, which is the only way you can get freedom? You can't change my mind. I can't change your mind. You see, but I can change my mind. I can control that. I can change my mind and I can project outward for my own change. Yeah, I can definitely do that. And then from that outward projection, you may take on a new or a different perspective. Yeah. Okay, that's possible. That can happen. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we're so obsessed, and that kind of reveals sometimes that the lack of rulership that we have over ourselves, the obsession that we have on changing other people's perspective or transferring identity to them, because it's an identity that we want to have that we haven't really been able to affect internally. So we feel that if we can project it and send it on to someone else, then we can live vicariously through them. You see, and then that allows us to say, we did it. We arrived. Maybe I always wanted to be a business owner, but didn't have the heart to do it. I felt I just didn't know enough, So I'm telling everybody else, you need to have your own business. You don't own your own business. Right? Because I haven't been able to affect that inside of me. So I transfer that aspiration to others, you see, as opposed to becoming that internally first. You can't manifest something that doesn't belong to you. It's just not going to work. That's not the way that the universe works, because love won't let it. You see, love is that energy of attraction and magnetism. It won't let it. It's nothing to stick to. You see, I can't manifest beans if I ain't going to be the rice. Can't manifest peanut butter if I ain't going to be the jelly, or cereal if I won't be the milk. I'm joking, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying. So there's something that I need to be in order to be the receptor of the things that I'm looking to manifest in my life. And if I move with the season, then I may move outside of the things that I'm looking that I want to envision and receive in my life. You see? Like there's times, when people go through certain situations where they have a vision, these are some of the things that come up in counseling, talking to people and stuff like that. They have certain visions for their lives. And, I always wanted to be this. I always wanted to do that. I always saw myself doing it. Always saw myself doing that. Right. Common things. And I said, what happened? Why didn't you pursue that? Why didn't you manifest that? Oh, well, people told me this. People told me that, or those don't sell anymore, or no one's looking for that anymore. This, that, in season or out of season. You see, whether you're received well or not, just stand on your square and the rest will come to you. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to come to you, because if you recognize something that you're trying to manifest in your life, the next thing you need to recognize or envision, what is the counterpart for that? What is the complement for that? If you have areas in your life where you feel insecurity, I talk to some people sometimes, and they want, let's say some of the men, they want to have a good relationship with the woman. And I'll say, okay, cool. What do you think is stopping you? Oh, well, I gained a lot of weight, losing my hair, You know, I don't really make much money, this, that. Well, okay, what kind of woman do you want? Well, I attract women, but just not the ones I want. But you're not the person that you want. So how can you transfer that moment of that emotion of excitement about yourself onto her when you're not even excited about yourself? You see? How can you transfer it? Lose weight or start to lose weight. Because even if you're not at the weight that you want, you'll be excited that you're trying. You know, people could say, "Oh man, you overweight." Yeah, but watch me next summer. You know, or it may take you 2 years or 3 years, but look, I'm working on it. I may not be where I want, but I'm working on it, and I'm excited about the fact that I'm working on it. You see? Or you may your hair's falling out. Man, go get a baldy. Cut it off. You know, or just take it there and a little bit of strip you got around your ear, grow that out. Do a Kimbo slice. Like Kimbo says, screw it. Here, look. You know, but if you're not excited about what you have, if you're not identifying with that because you're swayed by how you're concerned about how things are going to be received or whatever, I'm not going to be excited. You know, it's one of the prime things I tell women a lot of times, you know, who have body confidence issues. You know, and a lot of that comes from, again, the media. What we're told, you know, every black man has to have a penis down to his ankles, and he's got to have abs, and he's ripped, and he's a beast and a monster in the streets. But then when you get home, he's a scholar, you know, and all. And not every black man is like that, you know. And every black woman has to have this big behind and these hips, you know, and this flat stomach, and you know, she's a lawyer by day, freak by night. You know? And that's just not the reality. So, you know, some women got one breast that's A cup, the other breast is a C cup, you know, and they got behinds with droopy that just won't pick up, or they got no behind, or you know, whatever it is. But the reality is the excitement that you have about what you have will make me excited. You say, yeah, look, daddy. You see how you look at these titties winking at you, daddy. They winking at you, baby. I'll be like, they show up, man. I see them. That little one winking at me. Woo! You know, you get excited because you're excited about it. You know, if you're a man, you got a little penis. Say, yeah, girl, I'm about to put this little thing on you. I'm about to put this little nub on you, and you're excited about it. You know, she's gonna. Well, I don't know. I'm not a woman, but maybe she might. But hey, it's worth a shot. But I can guarantee you, if you come in there and you say, yeah, you know, can we get that light a little darker? Can we? Yeah, you know, I want to take my stuff off. But, you know, listen, let me warn you now. You know, you ain't going to feel anything, but it's not about the feel. It's about the experience. And come on. What are you transferring to her other than your insecurities? Other than your disdain and your hatred for yourself? This is what you're transferring to her. You see? I gave you guys that game a couple of years ago. Just talking about even your vehicle. You got a piece of junk car. Well, when you get in the car, don't apologize when you're going out on a date and a woman gets in the car, sees it. Yeah, I just, you know, sorry, man. You know, I'm trying to get my money together. No. She said, you know, what kind of car is this? Oh, this is a 1977 Gremlin. I love this car. That green paint, that booger green. You know, because you know why I love this car? When I get on the road, it turns heads. You know, you don't see cars like this. And you see how old this car is? That's how you know it's quality. You see? This car is a 1977, 78. I'm driving a 1981 Honda Accord. Yeah, the small one. Yeah, you know, this car is I love this car. I can get parking wherever I go. It's so small. I never have to worry about parking, this and that. If somebody bumps into it, I don't really care because you know about it. I love driving this car. It's just fun to drive. And she's gonna be like, all right, cool, man. All right, well, I'm with you. I'm rolling with you. What we gonna do? She's excited because you're excited. You see? Transfer of emotion and identification with a particular object is real. You know, but if you sitting there, you know, and I know I ain't did it, I ain't that, and then you're coming to your spiritual kingdom with the same type of mentality, but looking to employ it for higher level manifestation, it will not work. I'm telling you, it will not work because you confuse the spiritual kingdom. I told you guys that years ago in one of these sessions. I don't know which one, but I told you years ago, lying disrupts your spiritual power. Because now the spirits say, should I listen to you this time? Not listen to you this time? I'm confused, buddy. Are you this or are you not this? You see? Are you manifesting with confidence or you're not manifesting with confidence? Because you're so in season and out of season. You see? Let me start walking around. You're transgender, this all right. Transgender this real. Let me go do that. And the next thing I'll go do a ritual tomorrow to bring a lover in my life. You know what I'm going to bring. You know what I'm going to bring. Fu Manchu. So next thing you know, Joanna Man be at my next lecture. Hey, Chief, that was beautiful what you spoke about. I'm just wondering if, did you eat yet? Would you like to go out to dinner? Hey, well, I said it was acceptable. That's what I sent out into the universe. Then I did a ritual which only strengthened what's already swirling around in my mind. Now me and Joanna Man is, at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. Hey, is what it is. I did it to myself. Some big, tall, 6'5" dude come up with a voice like Minnie Mouse. Because, they always get that Minnie Mouse voice. It is not quite feminine, but it's just Minnie Mouse. So what I'm saying is that being able to stay consistent, being able to stand on that square and stay consistent with where you're supposed to be is what allows you to most effectively employ the spiritual kingdom. You see, you can most effectively employ that kingdom because they understand that regardless of what's going on in the transient world, which really means nothing, that they're still witnessing the movements of a deity. It's like I said in the beginning of the intro little thing where I say, I'm paraphrasing myself, but I said, when God doesn't act like God, then the spiritual community can no longer recognize what God is. Something to that effect, right? So what I'm saying in that instant is that the spiritual community sees your Ori. Your Ori is your light. Remember, the spiritual community is in dark. Your Ori is like a lighthouse, you see? So when you're functioning and identifying yourself from your head guru consciousness or your Ori, the spiritual ecosystem looks and says, God, right? God. And I'm using that word God on purpose, and you guys know I don't use it much. But God meaning a person of influence or entity or archetype of influence. You can now influence, shift, and move those demigods because you're functioning from that perspective. You see? So, but when you cease to own that and you start functioning from something else, the spiritual community says, I don't know what this is. So let's say, for instance, I'm an Ogun energy and I want to just be Mr. Tough Guy all the time. And I'm functioning only from that world. When it comes now time to employ the spiritual community, they say, we don't know who that is because that ain't you. That may be an aspect of you, but that ain't you. Because you can act as tough as you want, Chief, but we also know that you're a nerd. And, you safeguard that you got into a fight. And I'm going to tell my business. You got in a fight with one of your close friends because he lost your library card. That's a true story. That's a true story. And that's a grown man story. That didn't happen when I was a kid. That happened, what year was that? 2003? We fought in his living room. I lent him I said, yo, don't play with me. I want my library card. He lost my library card and I stole on him. I hooked off on him. I do not play with my library card. Don't play with my library card. I should have never gave it to you, fresh out. It was fresh out. I'm like, yo, go sign up for yo, son, I don't really got an address like that. Yo, I'm trying to look up something. I'm trying to take these tests. All right, here, boom, man. You trying to better your life. Lost my library card and I tried to crush that joy. Don't play with my library card. Right? So the spiritual community knows that story. Like, yeah, you're a nerd. You're also a nerd. You love your books. So why are you acting like a tough guy? That ain't you. You ain't tough. You see, you have all these different possibilities of what you could be, but ultimately you're characterless. You see, you're that Ori aspect. So we recognize that because that's light. Anything outside of that, we don't know what you're talking about. That's for your human experience, and really that's our zone. You see? So a lot of times we go and we identify with the wrong things. We identify with the wrong elements. You know, we identify with the wrong constituents because it seems honorable, it seems noble. You know, we want to spend our lives as tantric priests, and I'm gonna teach these women how to have orgasms, and everything is around that, even though the core of tantra has nothing to do with sex. You know, when it comes to tantra, it's a side note. The sex part is like the smallest part. It's only like maybe 10% of what tantra is. You know, tantra is about stretching the consciousness. That's what tantra is. But as soon as you say tantra, it's like, oh, we about to have sex. It has very little, but it's one of those traditions that it's very easy to pervert. It's very easy to tell people this is what it is because there's not a lot of true tantra teachers out here anymore. So you can just read a book on tantra and jump up tomorrow and say, hey, I'm giving orgasms, you know. So, but it has very little to do with that aspect. So a lot of times when people are doing different things as tantra teachers, they're making up stuff. They didn't find that in tantra. They're making that stuff up. That's just a little side note because that's another little sick epidemic I see in the conscious collectives where people go on, they be these sex coaches, and really they just can't admit that, you know, I'm a hoe. You know, I just like having a lot of sex, and I'm trying to figure out ways to legitimize it. Legitimize it in whose eyes? Whose eyes are you legitimizing it in front of? Who's looking at you? You still have those images of the elders in your Baptist church or whatever when you were a child looking at you and shaking their finger at you. That's what you're still identifying with. So your heart becomes heavy. You see, your heart becomes heavy. So that's why I say the Okan realm, or the realm of oneness, where the Ori actually sits and the Ori actually lives, is that realm of indifference where you can look at all of your different expressions and say, I'm not that, 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 I'm not that. Or your negative declarations of Ma'at. I didn't do that, 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 I didn't do that. You know, it doesn't remove you from earthly and planetary accountability. Like when me and my friend got into that fight, like we had to make up afterwards. Like, I'm sorry, you know, I lost it for a minute, man, but I just felt like you were disrespecting me and my library card. And, you know what I mean? I know for you it wasn't really a big deal because you didn't see how important it was, you know, but my Ori didn't do that. My wayward spirit did that. You see, that's what did that. My Ori was still sitting there like, look at this idiot. Why doesn't he just go get a replacement card? Which he's going to have to do anyway. And he's going to have to pay for the stuff that he broke in this living room. Idiot. That's what the real me was saying, talking about the projected shadow me that you all experience on the planet. Look at this fool. Look at it. You see? So it's the identification that allows us, no matter what the season is, or no matter what the spirit or the circumference and the globe of receptivity or inspiration is saying to us in the moment, it's identifying with our actual higher indifferent consciousness and our spirit of non-judgmental observation that allows us to go through these experiences, get the things that we're supposed to get, and actually be effective, as opposed to being emotional. Which is one of the things that rules over, because you remember when you're dealing with chakras, you're primarily dealing with emotions. Primarily. You know, so you talking about who you hate, what you hate, who you love, who you don't love, what you like, not like that, fire burn that. You know, it's all of these different things that are connected to emotion. You know, you see the woman who says, I want to be black, and say, that's a doggone shame. You got all these emotions that rise. Who cares? So what? That's just one little crazy woman. Like, what is that? What does that mean? You acting like she's speaking for the consciousness of European people worldwide. This little one crazy ex, I think she was a model or playmate or something. You know, I mean, she also had these humongous breasts she had implanted. I don't know if I can call them breasts. I don't even want to, I don't even want to disrespect women by saying that. She had these silicone bags that were put inside of her chest. Okay, I'll just say it that way. She had these big giant silicone bags. From the moment she did that, no one noticed she was crazy. You see? Well, this is just one person. Who cares? That's what's going to keep your heart heavy. That's what's going to keep, your heart making that feather fly up in the air when you get to that judgment scene. This one little crazy person. You see? So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes we identify with our emotional body way too much, and it gets us stuck in certain realms of emotion. It's real easy to get stuck in anger. That's super easy. There's things that can upset us every day. I had someone call me a while ago on my other line, my business line, and it was a New York Times subscription, right? And asking if I wanted the subscription to New York Times. First of all, I started laughing, and I was like, "Are you seriously trying to sell me a newspaper?" Because I know it's just these people's jobs. So sometimes when they call out, instead of just hanging up, get out of here. I'll play with them, like give them a little fun for their day. And I'm like, really? Like a newspaper? Who still uses newspapers? Like, I can't even believe that they're paying you to do this. And like, I know, but sir, I said, listen, I'm gonna tell you honestly, I don't want a newspaper because anytime I open up the newspaper, there's always something depressing. There's never anything good in it. So I really don't want all of that depression around me. And it was like, you know what? I can understand. Now, I wasn't gonna get the newspaper anyway, but I just gave them a good enough reason as to why I don't want it. But the thing is, I could open up a newspaper every single day and find something that I want to be upset about, that I want to riff and go. But I already got my stuff to be upset about. My quota is already filled. My quota was filled since I was 9 years old. I already got it. You know what I mean? There were certain books that I read as a youth that gave me enough. I'm good now. I know what needs to happen. I'm good. So whatever happens after this, I know is only a product of what I learned about when I was a child. I learned about systematic racism as a child. I started this journey early. I learned about oppression. I learned about colonialism as a child. So now everything that's following, I already know it's a product of those things. I don't have to get upset all over again. You see, all I have to do is just keep doing my work. And doing my work is going to dismantle the things that would potentially or whatever upset me. Just keep doing the work. If you identify and shackle yourself to the work, shackle yourself to the higher purpose, and the work may change, because the work is nothing but tactics. You remember the segment that I did on strategy and tactics? You guys go back and listen to that. The overall strategy is what? Liberation. What's the tactics? Oh, it changes. It changes. Back in the days, the tactics may have been go get you a funky fly girl and start you a funky, fresh, in the place family. And then it changes and you say, okay, I'm gonna change my tactic up. All right, that's not working anymore. The fly girl thing ain't happening. And as things change, you may say, I'm gonna go and do a teleconference line. Yeah, I'm gonna do a party line, and we're gonna meet on the phone every such and such, and we're gonna break this stuff down. Then things change. You say, you know what? No, I'm gonna get a message board on the internet, a BBS board. A lot of you don't remember BBS boards, but I'm gonna get a BBS board and I'm gonna put different information up on that BBS board, or I'm gonna send out faxes. Then times change again, and you say, I'm gonna go on AOL, get an AOL chat room, and in the chat room we're gonna be talking about liberation. Then it changed again. Tactics keep changing. I'm gonna get a forum, an online forum, and we're gonna talk about these things in an online forum. I'm gonna get a MySpace page. I'm gonna get a Facebook page. I'm gonna get a Twitter account. I'm gonna get an Instagram account. It just keeps changing and changing. YouTube, oh my goodness, I could talk about, So the tactics are constantly changing, but ultimately you're still shackled to the strategy of liberation, regardless of the season. So I'm not going to lose that objective because it's not received well. You see? Or because I may do a video, I get thumbs down. I don't care about that. Who cares? I know what it is that needs to be said because I'm observing everything from that heart position of indifference, which is not shackled to your reaction. It's not shackled to your response. So if you say, yeah, Chief, I really got a lot of that, okay, cool. But if you didn't, cool. That's why I told you guys, like, yeah, there's times I speak in front of hundreds of people. There's times I'll speak in front of 5 people. But I don't speak about it any less. Like, I know the New Orleans is the seating is going to be limited. So, you know, it's going to be a more intimate situation. But I'm going to do the same thing I would do if I was speaking in front of 300 people. Because I'm not shackled to how you receive it. It's not an in season, out of season thing. I'm instant with it. Well, what is instant, right? Instant is that ability to go immediately from thought to action. It's the quickening. You know, when you have that quickening, it's like, man, wherever it goes, however it comes out, because I'm channeling something from another space that's even faster than thought. But as long as I'm channeling pure and I'm channeling from that Ori in a pure sense, I don't have to be shackled to how you're going to receive it. You see? So just an idea to keep on. You know, I'm going to get out of here. And I told you this segment was going to be a little bit different. I didn't do a whole lot of breakdowns and stuff. I just felt like maybe this was is this a rant? Is that what they call a rant? Maybe I did a rant because I don't rant, so I don't know. But I just wanted to share that way of thinking sometimes, because I'm seeing, like I said, there's been some conversations recently that I'm seeing it's a stall for people. People are getting stalled, and they're thinking, especially the allegiance that they feel they need to have to social change. And without realizing that some of this social change, if not most of it, is about social architecture. People are promoting and pushing certain agendas for certain things that are happening, and there are tactics associated with the agenda. But if you don't know the difference between a strategy and a tactic, you won't know when you're actually witnessing and observing a tactic. You won't be able to see the difference between the two of them. You see? So, yeah, the word transgender, that's a tactic. It used to be sex change. It's a tactic. You know, and so many other things are associated. The LGBT community, you know, like how we make the distinction between someone who's a lesbian and someone who's gay. You ever notice that? Because there's no slang associated with lesbian. You might say lesbo, ooh, lesbo. But you might say, like, yo, you're acting real gay right now. But you don't say you're acting real lesbian right now. Tactic. If you're female, you be gay. You're male, you're gay. It's this extra thing. That should be a clue to some people. What the heck is that? Then you have the queer, LGBTQT, the queer. Huh? Tactics. See, all of these things, you got to be able to see them as the economic warfare tactics that they actually are. They're not innocuous. You know, even down to what you're given to eat. Tactic, all the fluoride, all the effeminizing hormones that are put into the foods. Tactic. The way that any form of masculinity is considered toxic. As soon as a man stands up to be masculine, toxic. So you can call anything toxic masculinity. Anything. Well, why are men being outlawed? What the heck is that about? And of course, we can be ignorant and ignore it. Why is it that the most emotional males are the ones that are put forward the strongest, and the most clear-headed and most directed ones are the ones that are suppressed? You don't believe me? Go look into the conscious communities. Look at how people scream into the cameras. Yeah, you need family. We gonna bang on the cracker. We gonna bang on the cracker. Family. You get that all day. Or you got the whisperers, the dudes who talk like this. And what I'm trying to say is that, you know, what they're doing is they're putting Ritalin and the children's food and in the communities. And in 1976, this was signed. You see, you got those super emotional, beating on their chests and stuff. Like I said, I think some of you got that box. I think you got that box because you're too emotional. Men, we don't move like that. Why do we need to be so emotional? We're in control. Why would I be that emotional if I'm in control of my kingdom? I'm gonna be like Yosemite Sam on top of my throne, shooting a gun up in the air, cursing. That doesn't make sense. If I truly have a kingdom, I'm in control. Some of you men may have experienced that before, working on a job where you was getting treated really bad. Maybe you women have too, but I can't speak for the feminine perspective. But you might have had a job where they weren't treating you right, and the only thing that kept you going was the thought of your family back home. You know what? Forget these people, man. I'm gonna go home. My wife gonna have my food ready. We're gonna have sex, and I'm gonna play with my children and just have fun, man. Take my children out tonight, or maybe maybe you don't have the money. We just gonna go to the park and throw a frisbee around. But that's what I control. And that environment. That's my kingdom. So y'all can act however you want. You see, and when you don't have that, men and women, listen, then those things take you under because you have no foundation. You have no footing. That's why a lot of you women call me sometimes crying from your desks at work because you can't take it anymore because you have no footing. And a lot of times those supervisors that you work for who are trying to have sex with you and stuff like that. I was speaking to someone the other night, sister, and she told me she works at Walmart. She said that her supervisor tried to have sex with her in the freezer. So she had to leave the job. I said, you had to leave the job. You just had to tell your boyfriend to come to the job and come introduce himself to your supervisor. Don't say anything threatening. Just, hey, how you doing? Hey, my name is. Give him a nice firm handshake and then walk back out. But you don't have that. So the world sees you as public property. You're a public whipping post. You see? Because we see that you're not a part of any kingdom. You don't have any lineage associated with you. You see, I know you don't want to hear that. That doesn't give them a right. Listen to what I'm saying. I didn't say give them a right because I know what comes next. I'm saying the culture of how the world moves, whether you like it or not. All right. So it's the same thing. A lot of you men, you go crazy when you don't have that base at home. I told you the head of the penis. I did that video recently. It's got over 20,000 nerve endings. Why do you think it is when that head of the penis is being titillated, you can't be angry at the same time? It's so relaxing. It's real simple. Sometimes you guys are sexually frustrated and you need a little sex to take the edge off. Just take that, just a little bit, just take the edge off. So that way you don't go into your job the next day and choke your supervisor or lock him in the freezer because he tried to talk to your girlfriend. You got to have that base, and sometimes even just a base of of someone you're dealing with or whatever, especially for you. I'm more speaking to the women more so than the men because it's different for you, whether you like it or not. We are different. And I know the movement towards unisexualization says there is no difference. They're lying to you, family. There is a difference. Okay? There is a difference. You need certain things. You can always get the support from your surrogate husband, which is the state. The man, 911 is his phone number. You can always get a certain measure of support from him, but understand that he doesn't have your future in sight in terms of your ascension. And now he's really outlived, in many senses, his use for you. This is why the Section 8 is being cut. He don't need you like he used to need you. The destruction that he hired you for, to destroy and disempower the community and the black household, he doesn't need you because he's got other agendas, like the transgender agenda. Yeah, you helped him hoist it up. You told everybody stop picking on your son, and this and that, and you showed your daughter all of this great feminine strength, and there were no men present and whatnot. Yeah, you did all of that, and you turned the daughter gay, and you turned the son gay. Yeah, you did that. But now it's self-regenerative. And a lot of people, what they don't talk about are the enormously high suicide rates that young people go through after they go through the transgendering experience. See, that's the part they keep leaving out. The suicide rates. Or that 90% of them admit that they come from fatherless homes. They don't admit that part either. So yeah, you're not needed as much anymore. But you'll see as time goes on. So sometimes you identify with something that's actually aimed and purposed towards your own demise without realizing it. You see, you're purposing yourself towards that. And what I'm saying, is it popular? No. Is it going to get thumbs down? Yes. It's probably somebody might even jump on a video and say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He obviously has issues with his own sexuality, or they'll say something. What's another one? Maybe I got mommy issues, or what's a common defense mechanism? Oh, I sound angry. I sound bitter. Maybe a woman hurt me in the past. He's all over the place. Is he talking about identity, Orisha, or is he talking about sexuality? You know, all of these different things to distract you from what is actually being said. I know all of them already. I know all the tricks, because, you know, you don't have to update the tricks. If you look again in that book, it says the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Well, has anything changed from the couple of years ago that was written in there? Yeah, I said couple. That's new. From a couple of years ago, has anything changed? No, same tactics. Still, kill, destroy. Martina Big, what is she doing? Stealing. Then you got other people that kill sexuality, they kill masculinity, they kill femininity, right? How many women even know what femininity is? Beyond wearing makeup and smelling sweet and not raising your voice. How many people really know what it is? Still, kill, destroy. What are we destroying? Destroy the house, destroy the person, destroy the culture, destroy the language. It's the same tactics. But the deepness of it is not the fact that it's the same. That's not what's so amazing about that. The profundity of the basic still, kill, and destroy paradigm is that it keeps working. It just keeps working. They never have to update their formula. Still, kill, and destroy. Hey, what's my order, sir? Still, kill, and destroy. Here you go. Here's a nightstick. Here's a badge, and here's a flashlight. Still, kill, and destroy. Hey, we just got appointed a new judge. Here's a robe, and here's a hammer. Here's a gavel to hit down it. What's my orders? Still, kill, and destroy. Gotcha. I just passed the bar. Yay, yay! I'm gonna go in the court. What should I do first? Still, kill, and destroy. Gotcha. Okay, so you telling me all I got to do is make sure he doesn't live in the house, he doesn't have contact with his children, and I don't get married, and I just got to sign right here, and you basically going to finance me, right? You'll even send me to school. Okay, what I got to do? Still, kill, and destroy. You got it. Yo, it's the same techniques. You see, you just got to pay attention. Pay attention. If you look at that, the triplicity of that agenda of still, kill, and destroy, you're going to find it in so many different things. And that's typically the order of it. Still, like a thief in the night. They always take the back road, you know, coming through the side where you can't see them. You know, then they kill. They destroy, right? Let's look at what they did when they came to Africa. Still, kill, and destroy, right? Come in like a thief in the night on the back. You know, hey, we got some Bibles for you. We got take this here. You know, we trade them off for some rifles. Then we're going to kill you. Oh, yeah, we're going to kill you. And then we're going to destroy your culture to the point that some of the languages that you have, we're going to completely destroy. They're going to be gone. They're gone. They're gone. I'm sorry, they're gone. Yeah, I'm not laughing because it's funny, but just because of again the profundity of it. You know, so I don't want you to think it's a maniacal laugh. It's not a I'm not doing that. But I'm just saying, like, the idea, they don't have to upgrade the formula, but you keep falling for it, people. You guys keep falling for it. You know? And I'm talking about the enemy within. So just before you start pointing fingers, say, yeah, you know these. No, the enemy within. A lot of you are stealing, killing, and destroying yourself. You're stealing your own visions. You're stealing an identity that's not even yours. And then you're killing the actual potential that's in you, which again destroys the road that you were walking on of your destiny. So now you're just running around in circles because you didn't kill the doggone bridge that was leading to the road that you're trying to get to. And then somebody like me or whomever else will come and throw a rope across and say, hey, let's build a bridge so you can get over here and get back on your path. But no, I'm walking in circles. No, I'm not going over there. But wait, no, I'm saying you need to come on. No. Why are you trying to hurt me, Chief? You just want me to fall down. That's what you want. If I wanted that, why would I throw the rope over and grab the other side of the rope? Because the truth is, you could pull us both down into the cavern. Why would I risk myself like that? I know you would never believe because I love you, because you were taught I don't love anyone. I'm a beast. And you were taught that you're not worth loving. Yeah, I know it gets crazy. All right, so we're gonna head out. All right, and just a reminder again, this Saturday, 6 p.m. I'll be at Everybody's Book List. No, I'm sorry. I keep thinking about Everybody's Bookstore down in Baltimore. I did a lecture there a while ago. I'll be at a different book list in Toronto, Canada, 6 p.m. All right. And again, like I said, for those of you who want to schedule any readings, spiritual readings, work like that, just use the Ask Osiris form, please. All right. Please don't email me telling me you want a reading. I can't, I'm not going to do anything. Go to Ask Osiris, AskOsiris.com. All right. Help me out. Help me to help you. When you guys send me those emails like that, you're actually giving me extra work. And sometimes the extra work is ignoring the email and then feeling bad that I ignored your email. And then, all right, here, go to Ask Osiris. So don't give me any extra work. All right. I got enough on my plate. All right. So please just, use the links. All right. It helps me out a lot if you use the systems that's in place. Plus, we pay for those systems. So let me get my money's worth. All right. Let me get my money's worth. So you use the systems that are in front of you. All right. And that's about it with that. Like I said, the first Saturday in December, I'll be in New Orleans, Louisiana. And we're going to be doing a part of that Sacred Talk series. And I just want to say peace, everyone who came into the chat room. I saw there were a lot of people after I gave my original greeting. I don't know if there were any questions, but as always, if you have questions or ideas, just leave them under the video after it posts, and then I'll address them in the next segment. Of course, next Sunday is a student, I think, right? Let me check. Let me look at my calendar real quick before I say something stupid. I think it is. All this dark, all this technology around me, and I can't pull up a calendar. All right. Yeah. God. Yeah. I'm just gonna say this. I'm pretty sure next Sunday is the last Sunday of the month. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Yeah. So next Sunday is a student call. So all of you who are students in our new spiritual training and members, you are welcome to call in, okay, and participate on that phone call, the student panel. I, of course, encourage you to do so. I enjoy listening to them. I definitely enjoy listening to like the growth in the students, big time, man. And it's good because a lot of times people don't like to talk to me because they know that if they talk to me, I'm going to give a solution. And when you get to talk to each other, you get to kind of, it's a little more relaxed. You know what I mean? It's a little more relaxed. So yeah. Pulling up roots and displacing rocks. Okay, Madam Ma'at. Yeah, I know you like your rocks. All right, yeah, it's an inside thing. But Achilles asked, when am I coming to Virginia? I'm not coming to Virginia. Okay, so set up something for me and then I'll come to Virginia. All right. So I told that to everybody. Everybody keeps asking me when you come in, I'm not doing a world tour. All right. I don't do that as much anymore. I used to go out to different places, all the major conscious spots. I did a lot of work in Virginia, Achilles. Some years back, man, like that was like a second home for me. So Richmond in particular, you said Richmond, Virginia. Yeah, I did a lot in Richmond. But aside from that, no, I'm not just, like going from spot to spot at this point. If someone has something that I feel needs to be supported, maybe you got a study group somewhere or you're doing something, you got some momentum, and I feel like what I can do will contribute and push further what you're doing, then I'll come there. But if what I'm doing is just like, if you don't need me, I'm not coming there. All right. So, and if you don't have something going on there, right, I am not coming in. All right. I'm not a seed planner. I'm not going from state to state, starting thing. I did that already. I'm not doing that. So for a lot of people been asking me, when you come in here, when you come in there, I'm not. I don't have any plans on doing that. And a lot of the places that you hear me announcing now, people have been asking me for a while. This ain't nothing new, but these are people who already have something in motion. Like the sister who does the Sacred Talk series, she's been doing that. You know what I mean? So she already has something that she's trying to, or I'm not gonna say trying, that she's doing, that she's cultivating. And I'm, she's been asking me for long, when come through, you can always come through. All right, cool, I'm coming through. But I need to see some initiative. I'm not one of those people who like to just hear myself talk or go places and everybody give me the soul brother handshake at the end of the lecture. And man, that was deep. And I don't care about that at all. Not one iota. I could go right now to Marcus Garvey Park and do the same thing. I go to Marcus Garvey Park, stand on one of the park benches, excuse me, one of the park benches. I could go stand on one of the park benches and just start dropping information, and people will stand around and be like, man, that was deep. And I can get my soul brother handshakes like that. So no, that's not something I'm necessarily interested in. I want to see what you're building, where you're at, and I want to make sure that when I leave, whatever it is that I taught is substantiated after I leave. If it's not substantiated, I ain't going, because it's a waste of my time. And you don't even know it, but it's a waste of your time too. Put that time into building. I don't care if it's 3 people, it better not be you, your wife, and your child, though. But I mean, I don't care if it's 3 people or it's 5 people. I don't care. Something. Get something going, and I'll come through. Yeah, man. I'll hook you up. I'll help you out. But that's the only way. So just as a heads up, everybody who keeps emailing me now, when you come here, and everybody's asking angrily too, why you don't come here? Because you ain't got nothing going on there. You just want some entertainment. You want an experience. I'm not here for that. And there's so many people who do it way better than I can. It's way better. Bobby Him is funny. I mean, you got people who funny have you in stitches. I'm not that. You know what I mean? So I might have you crying. I might have you mad and want to chase me out of town. But nah, there's people, if you want to be entertained, there's people way better at it than I am, man, and can still drop the information. I'm not that. I'm a samurai. I just cut right through and I'm out. So yeah, All right, family. So be safe, and like I said, for some of you, I'll see you this Saturday, right? And then for others, I'll probably see you in December. And then if I let you guys know, I'll be some other places in between, and I might let you guys know about that. We'll see. But in any event, be well, be safe, and think about what we discussed. Peace.